families of the hostages. They screamed at her, Bibi Netanyahu sent you. And she said that was the last time she went. As I said, they made it very, very
with the families, 2 years in the waiting, and once they've reunited with their families, they'll undergo preliminary sort of medical evaluation to ensure that they are in good health, and then they will be flown out by helicopter to one of 3 hospitals in central Israel. Waiting, and then they'll be admitted into the hospital, and the entire process of rehabilitation will take place. And of course, if they are in critical condition, they'll be flown to Soroka Hospital for immediate care. Now, I'm told that joining us, we have Zoom. Hear us?
Boker Tov, good morning.
Boker Tov, good morning. An historic morning. You know, I just want to hear your thoughts on a day like today. I mean, how are you feeling on this day? I mean, 2 years in the making.
Having been there and witnessed the massacre in Sderot on October 7th, and having been so many times in Israel with troops along Gaza, in Judea and Samaria in the north, it has been a long
Jeg tenkte dette her både personer har gjort svært alvorlig kriminalitet. Det er omkring 200-250 palestinere, hvorav veldig mange av de dømmes til dommer. Dette er mange av de har erkjent at de har begått handlinger, at de har angrepet soldater, de har det er sånne type angrep som disse palestinerne mener er en del av
Excuse me. אבל אומרים פה. לא.
don't know how quickly, but I think there's some momentum now. The greater Muslim world is not enamored with Israel, so it is a hard sell for many of these authoritarian regimes to do normalization now. But there are some the ones that hopefully will be first. I would love it for Indonesia to be the most populous Muslim country, obviously not an Arab country. I don't think Saudi Arabia is going to be anytime soon. The Saudis consider themselves the big people, the big country in the region, and they want to go last. You do have places like Azerbaijan. There are other nations that can make peace. Some people talk maybe there'll be something with Syria or Lebanon. I wouldn't hold my hopes out for that at this point of time. But I think to get one nation before the end of the year be incredibly important. And again, President Trump is a phenomenon, no matter what anybody thinks. He's the one who can make something like this happen. And another country that is possible, and you talk about a frenemy of the United States, is Qatar. Qatar has gotten amazing concessions from the president on security, unprecedented, with a base in the United States now, with a security guarantee the Saudis wish they had. Maybe behind the scenes, there's the promise of some normalization. You have to remember that Qatar and Israel had economic relations going back that only stopped in 2008, basically in the first Gaza war time. So there are possibilities here, but that momentum is incredibly important because Qatar could play it either way. They can go back to being the financier of the Muslim Brotherhood. They could be inciting hundreds of millions of Muslims every day on Al Jazeera, or there's some word that they may be toning down Al Jazeera. Maybe President Trump has pushed them to be more moderate. Only time will tell. But this is a window of opportunity where President Trump has disproportionate American influence. And what we have, very important for the Middle East, is a Pax Americana that has come back. America is back engaged in the Middle East. So from the isolationists that we in America worried about, President Trump is showing a vigorous foreign policy, and Israel and the American people should thank President Trump on a totally nonpartisan level for what he's done here on a humanitarian level and the potential for more peace. But everything has to be taken, caveats all around, and going forward. There will also be reports coming out regarding which prisoners are coming out, and they are terrorists. 250 of them, and where they're going to go. Let's hope that they don't go to Gaza or to Judea and Samaria. It's not good that they're going anywhere, but don't want them to start up Hamas in those areas.
Absolutely. Well, today we are focused on returning the hostages home. And of course, after all 48 hostages are returned, we can look forward to the next stages of the Trump peace plan and hope for an expansion of the
Ok, ntar tar jeg det. Ja, jeg tror det. Eller film, ja. Jeg skal
Israeli public is involved in their absence and in their pursuit and the struggle to bring them back. On the flip side of it, Nicole, as preparations are underway on both sides of the divide, let's put it that way, albeit it is, you know, tough to articulate any similarities in this respect. All 1,966 Palestinian prisoners are expected to be released. And they are too aboard buses in the different prisons throughout Israel now, en route to their release. And perhaps the asymmetry here, you know, convicted terrorists who conducted murderous attacks released in exchange for civilians kidnapped from their beds on October 7th. Oh, and we are seeing initial images of hostages. There is now, I hope we can bring those images soon, but there seems to be already documentation of some of the hostages as the handover is underway. Let's just remind ourselves and our viewers who is, as we speak, regaining their freedom after over 2 years in captivity. Eitan Mo, 25-year-old from Jerusalem, worked as a security guard at the Nova Music Festival when he was kidnapped. It took a week and a half rather, for him to be defined hostage. He was beforehand defined missing until the military announced his family that he is kidnapped in the Gaza Strip. Gali and Ziv Berman, twins, identical twins, 28-year-old, kidnapped from their home in Kfar Aza to Gaza on that Black Saturday. The last contact with them was at 10 a.m. that morning, the morning of their kidnapping. There was no sign of life in the show in terms of a video or a picture, as we've seen with other hostages of the two twins. And we also do not know, Nicole, if they were held separately for the entirety of their captivity or not. And we don't even know if they are familiar with each other's state. So Gali and Zivi Berman are expected to be released. And as a side note, Emily Damari was held captive and released already, posted on Instagram. She's a close friend of the twins, and ever since her release fought for, of course, the return of them all, but specifically her two close friends. So she just released a video sharing her, her joy to see them out very, very soon. Alon Oil with the golden locks, right? The blonde curls and the yellow piano.
That's been in Hostages Square since
Right.
the first days of this.
And his parents requested for a piano to await him at the hospital. We know that Alon was kidnapped also from the Nova Music Festival, was also injured very severely on that day and has been battling this injury throughout his captivity, so his physical state might be challenging very naturally, we might add. Omri Miran, 48-year-old, he was kidnapped from his home in Nachal Oz with his family, seeing it in front of their eyes. His wife Lishai spearheaded the battle to bring him back home. Omri has two young daughters. The eldest was 2 years old. The youngest was only a few months old. One 4-year-old now. The other one is a 2-year-old, and we saw earlier in the day, and we will be seeing, of course, on our screens, the picture of the two of them with suitcases.
And their little pigtails, the smiles on their faces, the joy when they heard, Daddy's coming home.
Daddy's coming home. And you told us earlier in the day that every night they stand out.
And they look at the moon. And Lishai has her two little girls speak to the moon and say, good night, Daddy, in hopes that Omri could hear their message and feel their message all the way in Gaza. But tonight, I don't think they're going to be looking at the moon. They're going to be saying it to his face.
No,
and it gives you goosebumps.
And also Danny Miran, Omri's father, who grew this long white beard. He's known worldwide as the man with the beard. He vowed at the beginning to cut the beard once Omri is home. But earlier this week, he told us, no, I'm keeping it, but as a show of resilience, as a demonstration, as evidence of their resilience. Also being released in this first group, Matan Engels, 22-year-old, brutally kidnapped when he was injured, unconscious from a tank in Mutzav Nachal Oz, at the Nachal Oz military base, as he went out with his team to protect not just the military base, but the surrounding kibbutzim. So this is the first beat, the first group that is to be released any minute.
Any minute, truly being they're in the hands of the Red Cross. I want to bring in another guest to this conversation as well. We're joined by former intelligence officer in the IDF, Raphael Yerushalmi. Raphael, I want to just state what joy we are feeling knowing that these hostages are on their way to safe territory, to Israel after 2 years, but still big questions remain. And I don't want to get ahead of ourselves as well as we talk about these big questions. I want us to feel the joy, but also be realistic. And as far as your opinion, as we are awaiting these 20 living hostages to be released, the 28 murdered hostages, Hamas still holding their bodies, that's the difficult coming hours as well. In your opinion, just in the coming hours, what do you expect to be the most difficult that could even throw some hiccups perhaps in this deal?
Well, we have to wait until the very last live hostage to be on Israeli soil to finally jump with joy. I mean, I'm jumping with joy like every Israeli today. Boker Tov Israel. It's a historical day, and I think everything is going to go okay, at least for that very first phase. And we always thought that the plan of the Trump administration, whether it's a good plan or a bad plan, it doesn't matter so long as we reach that very first phase and have our hostages back home and have the true picture of victory. Because the real victory of Israel in this conflict is to have our hostages back home. Now, on the way, many things can go wrong still. Even this morning,
Amazing moments here in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, I mean, amazing moments for amazing people, for amazing heroes like those hostages that have been there for 2 years. Finish speaking about Etamo because he is an exceptional as a bodyguard. He had the opportunity to run. He had the opportunity to actually save himself. He decided to stay. He under fire, saving Israelis. He made sure that wounded arrived to a safe place and to take a treatment until he was captured by Hamas. So we've seen here the most unbelievable human stories, and then you're going to hear about terrorist organization and those who we are releasing among those 250 life sentenced terrorists. I mean, if by that now you don't understand who is the good side and who is the bad side, then you are just a brainwashed, useful idiot for the terrorist organization Hamas.
I mean, it is true when you look at the reactions of Israeli society who were celebrating coming home versus who, unfortunately, far too many Palestinians are celebrating coming home. It's a stark difference when you're looking at convictions, multiple life sentences for acts of terrorism, and these are their heroes.
Right.
Very disturbing.
One of the terrorists released killed a mother, broke into a home in Judean
השנייה של החטופים שלקחו, לתמונות, להבין, לחבירה אלינו, לכוחות צה"ל, בצד הישראלי של 7 החטופים שכבר עושים את דרכם לכאן.
7 שעושים את דרכם, כל אחד מהם זה סיפור מרגש שאמור לפגוש את ההורים ואת
שהחטוף האחרון חוצה את הגבול.
عم الغلبوسه فهمي اسمع بلا مناره بلا حاجه اليوم فرنسيه قول له صورني تعال بطل جاي تصور هلو هذا امبارح ضليت من الفجر لا ده العشاء قلت لي قاعد اقرا الحوض راجل رفع امبارح قد ضلينا طالعين من دير البرع على الفجر وصلنا على كاف باشا أمانة الله برا على البار والله بعدين ولا بلاش خذ تبي كهرباء من هنا، دبر حالك اطلع هواك. طلع علي مد وصله قصيره، خذ كهرباء ما طلع هواك لقيته بعدين بيوصل روح. سيبك من ابو عبد الله لقيه. ابو جمال جيب ترانس، جيب ترانس شو اسمه فرنسيه؟ ترانس هذا ترانس هنا. هيا فوق السيارة، هيا فوق السيارة.
and Gali and Ziv Berman, Matan Angrest, Omri Miran, and Alona Hel were transferred to the Red Cross. So senior Hamas officials said to Al Jazeera that the hostages were transferred to the Red Cross and the rest will be handed over at 10 a.m. I don't know if we have footage from this transfer. We are now seeing footage from within the Gaza Strip. We have buses that are transferring, ready to transfer the hostages. We have ambulances with them, and this is the Red Cross vehicles in the Gaza Strip. As you can see, it's very, very exciting times. The entire nation of Israel is now watching at these footage to see their loved ones coming to Israel. So Hamas senior official told the Qatari network Al Jazeera that living hostages were handed over to the Red Cross in Gaza City. And according to the officials, the remaining living hostages will be handed over at 10 a.m., which is 38 minutes from now, to the southern parts of the Gaza Strip, meaning the area of Khan Yunis. So we will be here live to let you know what's happening. We will show you the situation in Israel. You have footage of the Israelis in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. You have footage of the Israelis on the border with the Gaza Strip, waiting in anticipation for the hostages to come back Israel. So all the people of Israel are waiting. They are excited to see what's coming up next. And I'm talking about tens of thousands of Israelis that gathered in Hostage Square, pulled an all-nighter there, waiting in anticipation for the release of the hostages. We had some reports that some hostages would be released at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then it was delayed to 8. Now we have these reports that the hostages are with the Red Cross, and we are just waiting to receive more information about this. So the participants came with flags to celebrate the release, and it is truly a moving moment. Mati, I've been receiving reports now from Tomer, our director, that Hamas at this moment is still executing a psychological warfare attempt, trying to call the hostage families directly from Hamas and connecting them with the hostages, and saying that they are expected to release in the next phase, meaning not now. And this is the last psychological warfare that Hamas is trying to use against the people of Israel. Even now, when the deal is signed and the hostages are on their way, Hamas is not giving up its terror manipulations. And I don't know, it's just terrible. Imagine the families waiting to receive their hostages and receiving this call.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw this in the news. Can you hear me, Yael?
Yes,
I don't know if you saw this in the news just yesterday. There were reports that came out from some of the people that were part of the negotiation between Israel and Hamas. And in the last 48 hours leading into this agreement, there were names that Hamas tried to remove from the living hostage list. And it was people within Israeli intelligence and people within the Israeli hostage family organizations that said, we have intel that these people are alive, put them back on the list. So to say that the war is over when it comes to Hamas evil, absolutely not. Hamas has consistently proven, and by the way, this is not something that happens in other wars, where civilians are held for years in such a way and in such quantity. Think about this. We had hundreds of hostages held by Hamas, and Israel freed, and many of them were released in previous hostage exchanges. This is not something that happens often in wars, and it just shows the pure evil of the people of Hamas. But I want to go back a minute for just what's been going on for almost 2 years now. We've seen a systematic starvation and torture. You're talking about the manipulation of the hostages. We've seen in recent months, many videos come out released by Hamas of these hostages suffering within Hamas captivity. They're being starved. Hamas tried to frame it as, oh, it's part of the starvation that's taking place in the Gaza Strip, where in reality their captors look like they've been gaining weight, not losing weight in recent months. Clearly, we know there isn't a starvation issue that's taking place, but people have been starved. They've been psychologically terrorized time and time again, told to send their families their last videos or their goodbye videos, to dig their own graves on camera.
אתה מנומס מדי. לא, לא, זה לא, לא, זה לא מזיז מעל אף אחד. קרב.
אנחנו בכיתי מלא.
זה חלק מעניין. המרימים פרסים, זה חלק מהחבר. לא. זה לא אחד. יש לי כאן עוברים פה. אני כל המלחמה הייתי מ-7 לאוקטובר, כן, אני גר במודיעין. אבל עכשיו לא
That's going to happen physically or actually today, but the president is going to tell the president of the United States that this is what Israel is going to grant President Trump at some point in the future. That's after not receiving, at least not for this year, the Nobel Prize, but at least Israel is planning to give him the highest Medal of Honor that the state of Israel can give.
And we will be coming to you for more updates from Jerusalem as the U.S. president is expected to arrive. But this is a major headline, but not the main headline of today. The main headline being the hostages that are on their way home right now. And once they arrive at Raim Medical Center and they're reunited with their families, they will also be transported to hospitals across the country. In fact, on the bottom right corner of your screen, you can see an image of some of these helicopters preparing to receive and transport those hostages. We want to go live to Sheba Medical Center in Israel. That's where our I-24 News correspondent Robert Swift is joining us from, as this is one of the hospitals that is prepared to receive some of these hostages. Robert, walk us through the preparations that you've seen so far. And also, we're already getting some inclination as to the condition of these hostages and how they should be treated.
Yeah, that's right. So here at Shiva Medical Center is the arrival of the hostages, which is, of course, the main news. Just a second ago, there was a scramble as the cameramen here got their eyes on Air Force One as it was coming into land. But it is not for U.S. President Donald Trump that the hospital is preparing. It is, of course, the returning hostages. Now, as we understand it, they're arriving momentarily at Raim, where they will undergo triage and reunion with their family. But the bulk of the medical care will be given to the hostages at 3 hospitals. Ichlov and Belenson will each receive around 5 hostages, but it is to here, Sheba Medical Center, where the bulk of those returning will be sent. Now, as I understand it at the moment, 2 of the hostages who are in Israeli custody will be coming to this location, Sheba Medical Center. That is Ziv Berman and his twin brother, Gali, 2 soccer fans from Kfar Aza who were kidnapped on October 7th, along with former hostage Emily Damari. Now, the hospitals have said since yesterday evening that they are ready to receive the hostages as they arrive, to give them the immediate physical treatment that they will be requiring. Some the hostages have been in captivity for 2 years, and it is understood that they may well be returning in a difficult medical situation. Some comfort was taken and optimism taken from the fact that the hostages appear to have walked out on their own 2 feet, and that is a hopeful, optimistic early sign with regards to their care. Of course, as well as the physical treatment, there is the psychological treatment which will come. That is all being prepared, and it's something that Israel has amassed a considerable amount of experience in over the last 2 years. Behind me, you can see the helicopter pad. We don't expect the choppers to be arriving here for some time yet, but when they do, we will update you from this location, of course.
And we will be coming to you for more of those updates throughout the day. Robert Swift, live at Shiva Medical Center in Israel. Thank you very much. I want to come back here in studio. Joining us as well with Owen Alterman, retired Colonel Dr. Jacques Neria, as well as our senior correspondent and host, Eli Hockenberg. And Eli, you have some updates just as far as the timeline of these 7 hostages. Are they back in Israel?
They're in Israeli territory. They are expected to arrive at the Re'im compound any minute now, but officially in Israeli territory, in Israeli hands after over 2 years. They've been in the hands of Hamas terrorists, and now they are, it is safe and official to say that they are back home soon to be at the Re'im compound where they're expected to meet their loved ones waiting for them with much anticipation. And all of this is happening simultaneously, of course, with those phone calls other families are receiving live from inside the Gaza Strip. So it is all happening at the same time. Another thing that is expected to happen in the coming minutes is Air Force One touching base, landing here in the Holy Land.
It's flying over also Hostages Square, reportedly as a gesture to all of the Israelis that are also waiting for the president to arrive.
The Tel Aviv shore seeing this this presentation Israelis made to the American president, extending their utmost gratitude. It is going to be a day full of such. We are receiving updates that the Air Force One is readying itself to land any minute now. So it is all happening at the same time. With that said, we have yet to identify preparations to the second handover of the second group of hostages. So the first one is about to come to an end. We are nearing also the arrival of Air Force One, but the second group of hostages is yet to make their way to the handover spot in which they're supposed to move from the hands of Hamas terrorists to the Red Cross, and from there, of course, to the IDF forces.
But there is this 12 o'clock deadline. The clock is ticking. It is currently 9:40 a.m. Israel time. Owen, all of these images coinciding on our screen. This is a month's worth of news all unfolding in minutes, if not hours. As the U.S. president is expected to touch down, we see the literal red carpet that has been rolled out for him alongside the Israeli and the U.S. flag. Many people say this could not have happened without the support and the strength of the U.S. president. Now, as he comes here, what does this all indicate about the future of the U.S.-Israeli relationship that has truly been cemented in strength, it seems, over these past few days?
Nicole, I walked through the square last night, and I stopped by a stand and bought 2 flags, but they weren't an Israeli flag, and there is Air Force One on its way to Ben Gurion Airport. After passing, presumably, over Hostages Square, as we heard, seeing the displays on the Tel Aviv
and also above
beach.
our studios literally a minute ago.
Above our studios a moment ago, as Donald Trump makes his way, a kind of conquering hero, if you will, after brokering the unlikeliest of deals between Israel and Hamas, and it seems every country in the Middle East and beyond. And here he is, about to land, as the hostages themselves are making their way in real time to Israeli territory, and we're waiting for that second batch. But Nicole, going back to the square, I didn't buy an Israeli flag and I didn't buy an American flag. I bought a flag that was a blend of both. A blend of both, an Israeli flag and an American flag together. This is another high watermark for the U.S.-Israel relationship, brokered in an unlikely way by maybe the unlikeliest of presidents to do so, although Donald Trump has always been so loved here in Israel, but now loved really across the political spectrum here, on the right and on the left. Again, a whole country showing its gratitude and its emotion to him on a day like this. And in this case, of course, very, very much well-deserved, as Air Force One speeds through the sky, making its way down into Ben Gurion Airport. And I suspect in just a few minutes' time, Nicole, we'll see Donald Trump go down the steps from the plane, be welcomed by President Herzog, by Prime Minister Netanyahu, and then from there, of course, make his way to the Knesset, where he will also get a hero's welcome, speaking before the members of Israel's parliament.
Yes, and just another update also, Lishai Miran is speaking over the phone, the first conversation with Omri Miran, who is being released now as we speak. He's part of the first group arriving back home after over 2 years. So we just got the picture. Hopefully we'll get the video soon and can share it with our viewers.
And this is the split screen. This is
Right.
the split screen on this morning. Right on the left, Israel is celebrating the release of the hostages, and on the right, in just a few seconds,
Yep.
Air Force
There
One
it is.
landing in
3,
Israel.
2, 1.
Touchdown.
The 47th president of the United States here to take what I think, by all accounts, is a well-deserved victory lap.
Well, this is not the first time an American president lands like this. I mean, I remember the President Carter in 1979, a shuttle diplomacy flying from Cairo to Jerusalem, Cairo, twice and thrice, until the agreement was reached. So is I would call this visit of Donald Trump a unfinished business mission. He has to finish the job he has began by, the sort of normalization with Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, or Indonesia, whoever, Malaysia.
Well, this is 3 more years to do that.
He has 3 more years to do it, exactly so, but this is the beginning. And then we have a problem that we have to solve, the problem of Lebanon. How do we take care of Hezbollah? Because Hezbollah is just awakening again and is threatening again. And so these are things that, Donald Trump will have to just address. And I believe that this is this is why I call it unfinished business.
But with Jacques, I agree with you. We don't know if this is the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning, but it's one of those. And for that reason alone, it's a historic moment as, of course, we see Israel do all it can to give the greatest of welcomes to the U.S. president there, of course, on the tarmac, getting ready for the ceremony, as Trump, I suspect, will shortly go down that red carpet and be met.
I will dare to say, though, that if we can define what Trump began just now is redefining the lines of potential alliances, as in marking out the jihadi forces in the regions, the extreme forces in the region as those who are unwanted, and all the rest as those who can collaborate if they will be wise enough to put the differences aside. This is perhaps the differentiation the American president is beginning to make as we speak.
But still some questionable alliances.
We have 3 years in front of us in order to finish the business with those radicals.
That's the big questions that remain, but also the questionable alliances that many in Israel are pointing to that the U.S. president has built in order to make this happen, the main one being with Qatar and with Turkey as well.
And what would be the price Israel will have to pay?
Exactly.
But for now, what Donald Trump has done is he's built the alliance within Israel's own society, at least for this moment, at least on this day. There obviously are dissenting voices, and there will be a number of members of the parliament who will not be there for Donald Trump's speech in opposition to this move. But by and large, as we all know, this is a day that's really, maybe uniquely in Israeli society, but for this moment, uniting the right and the left as everyone is happy.
Made for television moments. Perhaps that's a little bit too trite to say in a moment like this, but a split screen does signify, as we said a moment ago, that, to use President Trump's phrase, everyone is cheering, at least in this moment. The flags are lined up. President Donald Trump will be greeted in just a moment by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and his wife, Sarah, will be on the tarmac in an embrace. President Trump was also asked about his relationship with Prime Minister Netanyahu before he came to the Middle East, because there's been so many reports that he actually used expletives and became very fed up with the Israeli Prime Minister. Before he left, he said, "I have a very good relationship with the Israeli Premier. It's a relationship of long standing." Of course, he made a visit to Israel in his first term in office as well. He said, "We've had our differences, but now we are together in trying to end this war."
Well, this is Trump trying to make everyone happy. We know that behind the scenes there has been a lot of tension. Trump has basically reached the end of his tether with Netanyahu and forced him to accept this agreement. But now he's repaying him in kind. And Netanyahu, more than anything else, needs the image of him and Trump being these close partners and there being no daylight between them, as we're about to see now. And this will be, there'll be a lot of warm words from Donald Trump to Netanyahu and to Sarah Netanyahu. Obviously, he always makes it clear that he's complimenting also the Prime Minister's wife. But Netanyahu has paid diplomatically for this moment very heavily.
Senior members of the American delegation are already on the ground. They came from Sharm el-Sheikh, the Egyptian Red Sea resort, where this deal was hammered out. Last night we saw Jared Kushner, son-in-law of the president, and his wife Ivanka addressing Hostages Square. We also saw a very emotional Steve Witkoff, President Trump's not just special envoy for this region, but special envoy for everything. But now his focus is very much on this region. It's also a high-powered delegation, which is on that Air Force One. Marco Rubio, the U.S. Secretary of State, is on the plane. Pete Hegseth, the U.S. Defense Secretary, is there as well. All of them wanting to be part of this moment as the plane now moves into position, that red carpet in place. The Israelis now, I think that's the Israeli president, is that Isaac Herzog is now.
So the ceremony is a president receives a president, so Isaac Herzog, it's a ceremonial job, but he has to greet Trump. But obviously he'll be elbowed out very quickly from the picture, and Netanyahu will take over the show.
And other senior members of the Israeli delegate, Isaac Herzog there, standing next to Prime Minister Netanyahu. I keep remembering the moment in October when President Biden got off the plane, hugged Prime Minister Netanyahu, hugged President Herzog, and yet again, there it is. They're standing to attention. We can imagine what's happening inside the plane. President Trump knowing this is his moment, that the eyes of Israel, the eyes of the world are on this moment early in the morning here in Israel, 10 to 10 in the morning. Arriving a little bit late, but the fact that he is arriving to try to cement this moment in history. Let's emphasize, this is the first phase, a ceasefire, hostage for prisoner exchange, the arrival of more humanitarian aid. Perhaps there is Jared Kushner with his sunglasses, and next to Ivanka Trump in white, and Steve Witkoff always on his mobile phone.
Ambassador Huckabee.
Yes.
Former presidential
Ambassador
hopeful.
to Israel, yes. Ambassador to Israel, very much always emphasizing the strength of the relationship between Israel and the United States. President Donald Trump's team is on the tarmac along with Israel's most senior political officials.
And this is a moment that Trump wants to bask in the glory, and therefore all his circle want to be there in the frame at this moment. And it's interesting that perhaps I think J.D. Vance isn't here because we know that he has reservations about Donald Trump's Middle East policy. He wasn't happy with the attack on Iran. He's also seen as within the administration, perhaps as the leader of the more isolationist wing, and who are less happy with this very close relationship with Israel. When Israeli diplomats talk about their fears for the future of Israel's relationship with the Republican Party, J.D. Vance is the one they're most worried about. So it's interesting that he didn't come to this visit. He also cancelled a visit a few months ago, which was planned for Israel. There already were advanced planes here, and he was in Rome meeting the Pope in the Vatican, and then for some reason that visit was called off. So not all is great, even despite this wonderful event now with Trump and most of his senior team arriving at the red carpet at Ben Gurion Airport. There is still tension within the administration, at least certainly parts of the administration.
And this is very much a President Trump visit. Often world leaders bring their wives, but he brings his family. It's interesting how his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who played such a pivotal role in his first administration, he and his wife Ivanka seem to take a back seat, but month on month we've seen Jared Kushner playing a much more important role. He was at the table in Sharm el-Sheikh alongside Steve Witkoff. We're looking now at pictures of Prime Minister Netanyahu. The door is open. Let's just watch to see President Trump will soon alight, come down the stairs, and he knows the world will be watching to make sure he doesn't trip.
Well, he spoke about it in his speech to the generals about how important it is to walk down the stairs. But you mentioned Jared Kushner. I think last week on Tuesday, when news broke that Kushner would also be joining the talks in Sham, I think that was the moment when it became clear that Trump was throwing everything at it, that even Kushner, who stayed in the shadows during this administration, but we knew how influential he is behind the scenes. The fact that he was coming, as you said, closer into the limelight for this event showed how important it was for Trump and how he was determined not to let the sides leave without a deal.
An important moment in the Middle East. If you're joining us now, this is a special coverage on BBC News. On one side, the Israeli flags are flying as the last of the remaining Israeli hostages are handed over by Hamas, first to the International Committee of the Red Cross and then to the Israeli Defense Forces. And now 7 are free at last. They have come home to Israel, and the family reunions are underway. We'll keep an eye on the other 13 to see when we do have images of them coming home. On the other side of the screen now, Prime Minister Netanyahu and his wife Sarah, Isaac Herzog, the Israeli president, and his wife approaching, going down the red carpet to meet President Donald Trump. He visited Israel in 2017 as during his first term as president. Now this is his first visit to Israel. There was a bit of upset when he didn't come to Israel, when he made his first visit to the region, visiting Gulf states of Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. But now he is coming to Israel.
And the fact that Trump didn't make his first visit to the region, to Israel this time around, I think was a sign of how he is recalibrating his foreign policy here in the Middle East. Still very much an ally of Israel, but giving a lot more space and a lot more influence to the Gulf states, including, and he talked about this on the plane on the way last night, Qatar. And he said, I kind of missed Qatar in my first time. I didn't really know what they were about.
He accused them of being promoting terrorism.
Enough, but again, if everything goes through and there is a horizon for quote unquote the Palestinian state, that could be enough for the Saudis to say that yes, now we can normalize relations with the Israelis. We've heard from several sources speaking to Israeli media throughout the past a few days that they are willing to normalize relations with Israel. That could happen even as early as next year, when an Israeli government or a new one or this one, if it could be accepting some sort of a horizon to a Palestinian state. So this could be, of course, the next step in Trump's plan.
Breaking news, you are watching live images. President Donald Trump on Air Force One, coming down the stairs to the red carpet on the tarmac at Ben Gurion International Airport, shaking hands right now with the President of Israel, Isaac Herzog, a warm embrace, and now chatting to the First Lady, Michal Herzog. With me in studio, senior correspondent Owen Alterman. Take it away.
Yeah, you know, Benita, we're watching these pictures and we can't help but remember back to that visit by then President Joe Biden in the days after October 7th. And now we watch President Trump there shaking hands with President Herzog, with Prime Minister Netanyahu. And just think back on all that we've been through, right? Joe Biden then coming on October 18th, just 11 days after October 7th, to comfort a shaken country and a shaken Jewish world. And now we've been through more than 2 years of war. Finally have our hostages coming back. American Jews and the Jewish world have been through their own trauma, seeing what's happened on their campuses and their workplaces, seeing the streets of their own cities taken over. And now we have a president who is not always known for building consensus, but here he has, uniting an Israeli society that has been so divided, uniting Israel and other countries in the region. And one can only hope that he is bringing with him some hope for the future. As I said before, we don't know if this is the beginning of the end or the end of the beginning, but it is a special milestone for all that we've been through to see this president, maybe the unlikeliest of presidents, to have brokered what he has brokered, but coming in his own way on this enormously dramatic visit. And I think evoking in some ways the emotions that Joe Biden evoked when he was here back in October 2023, as Donald Trump now maybe bookending this war, Benita, and hopefully delivering us all into the book of life here on this time of our rejoicing.
And such important optics right now as he stands there talking with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Sarah Netanyahu there as well. And we can see the warm embrace, the body language between the US president on Israeli soil. Just over 2 years into this war, this is the man who has managed to secure the unimaginable. He has managed to secure a deal that many never, ever believed would happen. And look at this moment, what it means right now for relations between these two countries. You are looking very emotional, Owen. Tell us more.
How can we not be? And also, we're struck just in these few seconds. He's having, I think, for the tarmac, relatively long conversations with everyone, maybe suggesting that there still is unfinished business, as of course we can't escape the split screen on a day like today. We are, of course, welcoming back our hostages. It's now 10 o'clock. It's now about time for that second wave of releases. 13 more hostages, many of whom have already spoken with their families from the last moments in captivity. But of course, the President of the United States landing here in Israel, there with his ambassador, Mike Huckabee, with others there on the tarmac. Again, the unlikeliest of deals, in some senses, the unlikeliest of presidents, but someone who is now winning plaudits, not only from his friends, Benita, but also from his usual rivals. And of course, there with his daughter, a moment of real pride for her, for him, and now on to Jared Kushner, who of course was so instrumental in not only crafting the Abraham Accords, but in coming back, call out of reserve duty, if you will, diplomatically, to help broker this deal as well. But Donald Trump may be bringing hope for a new Middle East, for a new Jewish world, for a new Israeli society, but at least, or maybe not, but at least for this fleeting moment, doing all of the above as he comes and again gets this hero's welcome here in Israel, both the emotional welcome from the ground here in Israel, from Hostages Square, from the display on the Tel Aviv waterfront, and now the more ceremonial welcome from the Israeli state apparatus here at Ben Gurion Airport. And of course, from here, he will go to the Israeli parliament, to the Knesset, to speak and get what we should expect to be a thunderous round of applause from across the political spectrum on this auspicious day.
And of course, when we heard the rhetoric from Jared Kushner as well over the weekend, Steve Witkoff speaking at Hostage Square, not to mention Ivanka Trump, and we see them all together on the red carpet at Ben Gurion International Airport. One can only imagine the message that the Israeli parliament is about to hear in the coming hour, not to mention, of course, the whole nation, the whole region watching, and the world. Such an important moment right now in this region, in this war, and frankly, an historical moment. Look at that image, that red carpet, Air Force One on the tarmac at Ben Gurion International Airport.
And he's lingering. Look, he's speaking to everyone. And one wonders if there's still, as I said, business to be done, but obviously greetings to be made. But Donald Trump surely enjoying every moment of, again, this well-deserved victory lap, almost without concern for what the future will bring. Just getting to this moment and getting to this point was such an achievement. Of course, there he is with his partner, not always the most not always with the most cordial relationship, but always with a solid relationship, we can say, with Prime Minister Netanyahu. And there they are together, that pair, one in the red tie, with symbolizing his own movement, the other in the blue tie, symbolizing his own country, and of course flanked there also by Isaac Herzog, Israel's president, and by the honor guard there to welcome him to the state of Israel.
A positive moment, such an important time between these two countries. And as you say, making their way along the red carpet before the President of the United States, Donald Trump, will be addressing the Knesset. And of course, when that does happen, we will go there live, dubbed a well-deserved victory trip. No doubt it will be very exciting to hear what he has to say inside the Israeli parliament. And of course, we'll bring it to you live when that does, in fact, happen. We'll continue looking at these important images, but I also want to welcome to studio Shiri Fein-Grossman, the CEO of the Israel-Africa Relations Institute and member of Forum Devora, Women in Foreign Policy and National Security. And joining us as well, senior Middle East correspondent Ariel Osaran. I want to find out more about what you're thinking, Shiri, about this moment on our screen. But first, I want to come to Ariel Osaran for the latest update. Bring people up to speed. We understand that the Red Cross, a very different picture from what we're looking at right now, is heading to go to another receiving site. This is what this day is all about. Tell us more.
Yes, well, these images that we're seeing on screen right now are important, are historic. This is the seasoning of the main course of today, which is the release of the hostages. The entire country holding its breath for the release of the remaining 13. According to the IDF, the convoy of the Red Cross is making its way to the location in Khan Yunis where they are going to receive from Hamas the remaining 13 living hostages. And so we can expect within a short hour that this release will take place. Now, following, once they're handed over, then Israel will begin releasing 1,916 Palestinian prisoners. We're talking about 250 with sentenced to life in prison or prolonged sentences for their involvement in the killing of Israelis, citizens, and security personnel, as well as 1,700 Gazans, a significant amount of them civilians, not terrorists, who have been arrested throughout this war. This is the price of the hostage release. And so we're really kind of getting a whiplash here from the first hostage release in Gaza City, now the arrival of President Trump at Ben Gurion Airport. As he makes his way to Jerusalem, there will be the release of the remaining 13 hostages. So really a very joyous day here in Israel, but obviously for the families of the hostages, this is a critical moment, not only for closure, but really ending the longest day in Israel's history. October 7th, until all the hostages are returned, Israel and, of course, the hostages and their families cannot turn the page over that horrific day. We do have to note that while there are 20 living hostages being released today, 7 have already crossed into Israeli territory, 13 expected to be handed over. There are also the bodies of 28 hostages. Some are going to be